prosecutors really need 7 phones to establish a timeline in the Idaho4 case? 7 phones don't create 7 times the timeline value for prosecutors, but they do create 7 times the opportunity for the defense. Every additional phone gives the defense another opportunity to challenge the evidence, find anomalies, and raise alternative theories. So what was valuable enough to the prosecution to justify all 7? Let's start with what prosecutors will tell you. Victim phones can be incredibly important evidence. They can establish when victims arrived home, when they were last active, whether witness statements align with digital records, whether investigators found evidence supporting alternate suspects, and whether the victims appeared to be living normal lives before the attack. Those are legitimate reasons to analyze victims' phones and for prosecutors to introduce them into the record. But in a case in which there's no known personal relationships between Mr. Kohberger and the victims or survivors, no documented stalking, and no known social media contact, those 7 phones would have primarily shown an absence of communication between the victims and Brian Kohberger, and also would have repeatedly reminded jurors that there was no traditional motive. So every phone introduced into evidence by the prosecution comes with costs, and every phone increases the complexity of the prosecutor's case. Prosecutors know this, especially those with decades of experience. And prosecutors don't generally take on additional risk unless they expect additional value. That's where the contradiction starts to emerge. Timeline evidence has diminishing returns. The first phone might be critical to the timeline, the second phone might corroborate it. By the 5th phone, you're not getting significantly more timeline evidence. Never mind the 7th. That's why the number matters. 7 phones suggest to me, as someone with more than a decade of mobile forensic experience, that prosecutors believed the value wasn't located in any one phone. The real value appears to have emerged when the phones were collectively considered together, especially if multiple phones allegedly revealed the same thing. This part is clear. Prosecutors apparently thought 7 phones would be necessary, with the implication that the reward outweighed the risk. In other words, the prosecutor's own behavior suggests that they believed the phones were doing more than just establishing a timeline. Did they introduce 7 phones because they believed all 7 devices logged Mr. Kohberger's nearby device? In fact, if Cellebrite's Android researcher is correct, and if the comments made by members of the Idaho4 Cellebrite team at a mobile forensics seminar accurately reflect what investigators found, then it's technically feasible that those 7 phones may have independently logged Mr. Kohberger's offline Android. If so, that would help explain why prosecutors believe 7 phones potentially placed Mr. Kohberger at the crime scene, so were worth the risk. But whatever rationale you arrive at, or whatever the reason is ultimately shown to be, the 7 phones likely tell you more about the prosecution's theory of the case than the phones themselves, in that there was some value to the 7 phones beyond just time reconstruction. If you like my videos and how I present the information, please subscribe and like the video.